No, we're doing well, to be fair. Our family have been amazing, haven't they?
It's kind of an unknown, isn't it, really?
Oh, massively, yeah.
We just kind of got chucked into it last year, and then...
I watched the last round and I thought, that's why we do it.
Although it's just one rider, it's still obviously the same objectives, obviously wins.
I could win a race for you and I could win a championship for you. Right then, let's do it. And
yeah, but we've been really lucky. All the staff have stuck by us, sponsors, Glenn's been there, so couldn't ask for anything more, really.
No, he won 2 races and Tommy won the final one. And for me, that was the start of where it kind of did go wrong.
It was never going to be easy to follow in their father's successful footsteps. But after a winter of determination and hard work, their team will line up on the grid for 2024. PBM Racing Team will be part of the Bennetts British Superbike Championship in 2024 with their rider Glenn Irwin. That's Jordan Bird and Frank Bird Jr. This is Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast.
Do you want to just go straight into it? Because honestly, I'll cut it in from here. Should we do that?
Fine, whatever you're happy with. We're happy with whatever. Just go like that.
Jordan Bird, Frank Bird Jr., both of you, welcome to Off Track. How's the family and how are you both?
Okay now, aren't we? It's been, every day's a school day with that. I think every day something new gets thrown up. Something that my dad's left us to deal with is pretty much how it is, but I think that's normal. But no, we're doing well, to be fair. Our family have been amazing, haven't they? And on both sides, dad's side and and mum's side too. We're very fortunate, aren't we?
Yeah, a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel now. It was a bit dark for a few weeks or months, so it's been good to have something else to concentrate on. So we're getting there now. We'll just get to do the fun bit soon. Get on track.
The fun bit sounds great. Yeah. It was announced on Wednesday that PBM Racing continues. So it's chapter 2, page 1, isn't it?
Yeah. 2.0. PBM 2.0.
PBM 2.0.
Yeah.
It's the same but different.
Yeah, exactly.
Explain to me the changes that have gone on through the winter.
Everything. Top to bottom. Yeah, absolutely everything. So my dad had been at the workshops for 15 years and circumstances changed. My dad's brother decided he wanted the bike team away from that, so we had a month to get out, didn't we? So all the lads, all hands on deck, trucks, everything. Yeah, a month. Yeah, so it was literally, it was first day back after Christmas.
We found out the 3rd of January. We had to leave the premises.
So we had a lovely Christmas and New Year, and then we came back to some great news. So but there was 27 years worth of crap. So moving all that up, and it's great to be here. We're so happy to be with the Dyno Jet lot, and Frank Sr. and Janice, they're my sister's godparents, so they've been around forever, and we've been quite lucky to have them on our side because it's been complete change. Bank accounts, business changes, insurances. It's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, so, started from the ground up, really. And this is where Dad originally set off from 27 years ago.
Back to the future, isn't it?
It's nice to be back, isn't it?
It's a nice
changed.
Story.
They've all done up all the buildings and had a redesign, haven't they? There's new houses on the lake where Frank Jr. lives. So, it's nice to be back and see different people all the time. And where before was a bit... Obviously, the workshops were really impressive where we were before.
They were typical PB workshops.
Yeah.
They were like, my dad's office looked like a strip club, to be honest. There was mirrored walls, padded walls. It was cool. I reckon we sat in there about 3 times.
Yeah.
We had a couple of meetings and then that was it. Had a bar in there and everything, so it was cool. Yeah, but that's not really how you run a race team.
That sounds like something out of the Playboy Mansion rather than...
I think he did think he was Hugh Hefner at one point, actually.
I wasn't going to go down that road, but maybe. Bless him.
So full change, but I think it powers you up. We're ready now. All the crap jobs have been done, and we're looking forward to getting to the fun bits now.
So how do you then start a race team from scratch? Because I gather that it's not the same as it was before. You're a one-bike team, you have the Ducati, and you've new premises, and it is literally, like you say, it's PBM 2.0.
Yeah.
Where did you start? What guidance did you have?
Sleepless nights to start with. We kind of looked at each other and thought, shit, this is graph. But I think the biggest thing were the staff. So the staff wanted to stay, which was the biggest. That would have been, so that was a big tick. And then next was obviously checking that Ducati were happy. So I took the trip down. You were away racing, weren't you? So I went down to Silverstone where Ducati UK are based and had a chat and explained what our plans were. And at that point we were planning on running 2 bikes. And they were fully happy. And then the next thing was called to Frank Sr. and checked he'd be happy to have us here, and then everything kind of, I think as you tick jobs off, it gets clearer, the path gets a little bit clearer, and yeah, it did eventually. But at one point, I didn't think we were going to be able to pull it off. It was really tough, wasn't it? Because we were grieving our dad, we had all that to deal with. Plus, there's now no financial family backing in any way. So, the money came from my dad, and a lot of it, and my dad's not around anymore. So we've had to find that, haven't we? Which, as everybody knows, is really difficult. But partners have stayed on and come on with more money than what they did last year, which has been amazing. And yeah, so the support's been, second to none, hasn't it? And without it, it just wouldn't happen. That's the way it is.
Yeah, we've been quite lucky, really, haven't we?
Very
Everyone's
much so.
stuck by us. Because it's kind of an unknown, isn't it, really?
Oh, massively, yeah.
We just kind of got chucked into it last year, and then we couldn't really explain what was going on, what our plans were, because it was all still unknown.
Yeah.
So we were kind of just blagging our way through it slightly, a little bit.
Well, we said
None of us have got where we are by not blagging it, have we? Let's be fair.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're really lucky. All the staff have stuck by us, sponsors. Glenn's been there, so we couldn't ask for anything more, really.
No.
We kind of had the shell of a team, but we didn't really have the infrastructure type thing. So
I think my biggest thing that the foundations are there, and ultimately the foundations are the team. And if the foundations are a bit rocky as you build up, that building's gonna topple down. So we put a lot of work in, didn't we, to make sure the very base was as strong as it could be. And then as we built up it kind of kept everything nice and straight. Anyway, we didn't really want a leaning Tower of Pisa, so we've done, I think we're getting there now, definitely. And now it's out in the open, it's like a weight off our shoulders, because the questions, we'd all be millionaires, wouldn't we, if we got £1 for every question. So it's nice that we can talk about it freely and not say, keep your eyes open. And
it's always difficult, isn't it, to do that, and to not be able to share the excitement of what you're building until the very last minute. It is a late announcement, but you've had to put everything together, so it's going to be a late announcement.
Yeah, it's literally from the start. Like, I cannot stress enough, this is a brand new team. As much as we're following in Dad's footsteps, and the name change isn't huge, it's just PBM Racing Team now, but we literally have started from the very beginning. We're lucky we had a truck and a bike and the lads that had been with my dad for a long time, but everything else is fresh, isn't it?
Yeah. You didn't want to put out false promises as well, because you could sneak an announcement in or something like that, and then you never know further down the line that something might not work out. So that's why we waited so long. Just make sure everything's right.
You need your ducks in a row, because it will soon backfire, and you're building this on the legacy of your dad and his success in the sport.
Exactly. I think that's tough as well.
And so following in your dad's footsteps, and also granddad as well. I don't know how many people,
everybody, there's not one person.
The fans that maybe don't realise that they go back to Red Bull Racing with Ben Atkins, Grandad Ben. There's a huge amount of history in the sport for you two, both from your dad and from Grandad as well.
Well, we're the first ever third generation.
You don't really think about it, to be fair. It's just it's our life, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it is.
All we know.
It's my job, you see.
It's
my job to bring these things up.
So we are first ever third generation team owners. So, but there's not one person in our family that isn't involved in it. So there was obviously my granddad Ben, and that's how my mum and dad met. My mum was going racing with my granddad. At the same time, Dad had his team, and then my mum's now married to Mark Lloyd, who's Brad Binder's chief mechanic. Chief mechanic, is he? Yeah, chief mechanic. So, and then obviously Frank with his 4 wheels, and then BSB as well. So we can't get away from it. It's everywhere.
Stuck, aren't we now?
It was, I don't think inevitable is the word, because you never know how you're going to react to what happened last year, to the sad passing of Dad. Maybe some would maybe go, that's it, I'm done. If Dad's not there, I'm not doing it. Did it take you a while to understand what you two were going to do, or was it always, wherever possible, we're going to be back next year?
Yeah. For me, I had no doubt. This was always my plan. It's obviously a bit different with Frank, because you've got your own stuff, haven't you? And whether he was always going to be involved, but whether he wanted to be actively involved was a different thing. But there was never a conversation, was there, for
We didn't even
us?
think about it.
No.
We just just carry on.
Yeah.
Well, try to carry on, yeah.
I mean, my dad was sick when we were at Cadwell Park, wasn't he? And during that time, we'd written up letters of intent for both Tommy and Glenn, you know, to say whatever happens to my dad, because at that point we knew he wasn't going to make it. We knew he was, you know, super sick, and we didn't know how long it would be. So I was, you know, you stayed at home actually, didn't you, with Dad? And I went to Cadwell and had these sort of, they weren't legally binding as such, but they were as strong as we could do at that time, ready to plan for 24, whether my dad was here or not. So there was never, it wasn't like a sit down family dinner conversation where we said, is this going to happen, was it? It was just
couldn't stand still, really.
No.
We had to kind of just move on.
Yeah, it just
Try and
happened.
get the ball rolling, whatever happened, really. So cover all bases type thing.
Well, how did it all start? When you come to this point and go, okay, we have to do this, but there are certain business issues in place for what was Paul Bird Motorsport to then start your new PBM Racing Team. Going through all of that process first, because of the circumstances which made it difficult, but to go through that and go, we are going to do this. Was there at any point where you thought, have we done the right thing?
No, there wasn't, was there? I had a list. I love a list. So it was very methodical.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, everything. I'm a typical woman, aren't I, really? But there was a list, and for me, it just was tick jobs off the list. I didn't kind of look at the end goal to start with. It was one job at a time for me. Because I've done more of the admin-y stuff. You've been able to do the
real
fun
world
stuff.
not for me, really,
Frank's like pick the riders and design the trucks and design the bikes and the rest
Still
of it.
important.
Yeah.
So your admin and your aesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's what Dad did anyway.
He kind of just turns things, but what do you think? And I haven't even had a chance to look, and it's already been ticked anyway, so even if I said no. So yeah, I did a lot of the groundwork in that sense of the real world stuff. And then at one point I thought this is a lot, like I'm doing a lot here, and I kind of thought, I'm not sure, like I don't know if I can pull this off. And I watched a couple of the videos that BSB did actually, like the roundups of every weekend, and I watched the last round and I thought, that's why we do it. That's why the tough days then become worth it, when you get these trophies and off you go.
Look at these.
Yeah.
See them behind us.
I mean, that's just a few of them.
We've got 19, 20 and 23 behind us there. They look fantastic.
Couldn't fit the other ones in.
We're going to prove into the rest of them, haven't we?
That's
That's
a great
it.
problem.
It's a great problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about the last 3 rounds of last year, dealing with what you had to deal with on a personal level. And I think from a team perspective, it's well documented. Not to keep coming back to Dad, it's well documented of how you guys dealt with that and how you felt about it, which is wholly understandable. He's Dad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But those last 3 rounds from a team perspective, I always had this theory in the back of my mind that with the 2 huge characters that you had as riders, and I think I'm not alone in this, there's like, this is going to go pop at some point. How long before this goes pop? And I did almost every round last year, and there were a couple of things on BSB radio that one rider would say, and if you're listening, you pick up on it and you go, oh, that's interesting. And then one rider would come back with something else. So it wasn't really obvious, but if you listened, there were subtle digs all season.
That was how it started. It was, honestly, this is the God's honest truth. When my dad signed, because this was, it was, and do you know what, actually Johnny Mowat, our team manager, he was the one that said Tommy Bridle, didn't he? And Dad he wasn't 100% sure, because we've obviously been main rivals, Ducatis, that he was ultimately the one that you wanted to beat, first of all. So we were all a little bit skeptical, and he came up to me, my dad, and Tommy said, I want to win a race, and you can provide me the bike that's going to win a race. And he said, I also want to win a championship, and you can provide that too. So for Dad, it was a no-brainer. If somebody says I can win and you can provide me the tools, why wouldn't you? So that happened, and honestly, he fit in so well. It felt like he'd been part of the PBM furniture for years, didn't it? And his parents, they were great, and his wife, and everybody really slotted in. And we were winning straight away. And after the last couple of years that were really tough, it's no secret, they were really tough years. We kind of might as well have burnt money. I was kind of thinking, this is my inheritance down the drain. He was racing too.
Somebody please win something.
Honestly, he was spending money with his racing. My dad was spending money on the bikes. I thought, I'm going to want my inheritance. So yeah, and it started off great, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a dream. And then kind of little cracks started showing. It was really when my dad became sick, to be honest. That was, would you say that was the start?
Yeah, I think because they were winning so much, it kind of messed the problem slightly, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then I missed quite a few rounds because I was with Dad. And you were at the track, weren't you? So
yeah, I think Thruxton was the start. We had a terrible Thruxton.
That was your worst weekend of the season. You can't,
it was horrendous.
We can't pour any glitter on that. That was horrendous. It was really
tough. And the boys, Frank and I had a discussion, and he decided to stay back with my dad, but one of us needed to be there, so I did. And the boys worked night and day. They tried everything you could ever imagine, but we now know what the cause is, and they've got to the bottom of it. So for this year, we'll be good to go. But I would say that's when it started, because I think the biggest thing is as well, everybody's there for the same reason. Everyone wants to win the championship. Otherwise, why the hell would you be there?
Correct.
What would be the point? So we kind of had got to the point in the season where it was either Glenn or Tommy that was winning. We won 18 races. And then I think we had a further 8 podiums or something, a lot. So
18 podiums, wasn't it?
It was a lot. So when it does get like that, it's natural you're going to butt heads. So Thruxton would be when it started. And then Glenn had a really good Cadwell. He won 2 races and Tommy won the final one. And for me, that was the start of where it kind of did go wrong. I felt in a really difficult position because it was still my dad's team. I wasn't the boss then, I was the boss's daughter. And everyone was looking to me to be the mediator in a sense. So the boys did get which people don't know about, they did get letters of a warning that if this doesn't stop, there will be repercussions. Kind of didn't do an awful lot, but
how did that go?
Yeah, it went on great. Fast forward to the next race. Donington, I don't really have to say much. It was
worst case scenario, wasn't it?
You kind of chat about worst case scenario. Yeah. That is, your riders knocking each other off, that is as bad as it gets. There's nothing is worse than that. And I remember I was watching on pit wall with Johnny, our team manager, and I could see them sort of come over the top of the crest, and I thought, this is not going to end very well here. Then literally 2 seconds later, they were both in the gravel together. And then from that point on, I felt like all eyes were on me. And I kind of thought, what will my dad do here? Because that's who you kind of automatically think of. And I just walked off very calmly into the garage and shut garage door down. And then, there was a bit of a kick-off. Of course there was. It's adrenaline, it's a high adrenaline sport. Your brain doesn't work properly when you're fueled like that. So the boys had their little bit of time to calm down, and it was never the same after that. And I kind of wouldn't expect it to be either. So it was that side of the garage, and they did what they had to do. And, the best man won on the day, didn't he? And that was Tommy. And, so for us, you said it too, didn't you, that the checkered flag's on from last year. That's finished. The feud, as everybody wanted to call it, that's done. Tommy, chose to go the route he has, and that's what he thought was best for him. And we've done what's best for us too, and best for our team as well, I think.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourselves in those 3 races? In those 3 rounds leading to the end of the season that you didn't know before?
I think for you, it was a lot for him because you were still doing your own championship, weren't you? My dad was really sick. He was still racing. We still had bikes to run. I still had a normal job. I had my beauty salon at home. So trying to juggle everything, kind of realised, it was chaos.
I'm just spinning so many plates at the same time. But it was, I don't want to sound big-headed, but we were kind of like in the spotlight, kind of. Because we had all the tribute for Dad at Alton Park, and it was on TV and stuff like that. So you kind of feel like everyone's judging you of how you're acting, and then they're watching all the bikes, how they perform on track and stuff like that. So you just don't have time to think about anything. We just had to
I think
get
that was
on with
probably
it,
a
really.
good thing.
Which is, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't have time to think about it, which is the best thing. Even still now, because we're still just flat out all the time. So it's kind of just
It just happens. Yeah. I think when you are under so much pressure, it just happens because you have to. Like, we've had to make it happen. We've had no choice. There's nobody above us now that can be like, oh, Dad, this is really crap. I need your help. He's not there. You know, that's the fundamental thing. It's down to us now. So it's just been crack on with it. But I probably learnt how little sleep you can run on. I think we were fueled on adrenaline I think we probably still are now, aren't we, really? And I mean, the last round was a crazy one for me because he was racing as well, and you could win the championship for your teammate, couldn't you? It works a little bit differently to bike. I mean, you know it better than I do, obviously. But he could win the championship and you couldn't he? Because you missed a couple of rounds with Dad. So there was big pressure on your shoulders, wasn't there, for that?
And you were steering the ship.
Yeah, and I was steering the ship at Brands.
Yeah. And fully stretched out, weren't we, at that point? Yeah. Trying to make everything work.
He just turned up for the party at the end. He had a big bottle of vodka in his hand. Everyone cheered when he walked in. I thought, bloody hell, I've done all the groundwork.
For the glory.
You got the cheer with this vodka.
The party can start. I'm here.
Exactly.
The big double doors.
It literally was. It was like a mic drop. Frank's here. You're old news, Jordan. And I think the vodka probably helped bring everybody into your side at that point, didn't it?
I think that's going to work in a big way.
Yes.
We'll just touch on that for your side as well, because you have a successful career as well as yourself with the beauty therapy and running the team and being the figurehead now, because he's too busy and you're just aesthetics. But for 2024, you're official junior driver for Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where does that take you for this year? What does that for the listeners and the viewers that don't follow the full wheel side? It's a very different world. Yeah. So tell us about your side of things. I think it'd be great for listeners and viewers to understand what you have to do.
I've actually just come back from the Mercedes HQ in Stuttgart in Germany. So I've been there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I was there meeting all the big bosses. Then I did a seat fit for the car as well, ready for the season. So been signed up by Mercedes AMG as a junior driver for this year. Massive privilege really to be representing a massive global brand like that. So that was kind of been my target for the last couple of years, just to be associated with the proper manufacturer. And you kind of like I was on the right ladder, but now I'm really got my first step on it. So so I'll be representing them. At the moment I'm just doing all the Nürburgring Nordschleife stuff, so the big, super big track in Germany. I think it's 24 kilometers long, I think. So I'll be there in a full factory car, and then my first race is same weekend as a Donington test.
You're a bit gutted about that.
I got a crash straight away. So
but I'm going to set you up.
Yeah,
of course it was.
And these are GT cars?
GT3 cars, which is based, to explain to anyone that doesn't know, it's basically what Superbike is. So it's based on the Mercedes GTR road car, which is all obviously stripped down to bare minimum. Everything's carbon fibre, and then just basically what Superbike is really.
They're proper bits of kit. Even if you don't like cars, they are really impressive. They look like, when they're all liveried up, they look like little rocket ships. They're pretty cool.
You don't really, because you just see it all the time. Same with the bikes, you just don't think about it. And then, like, say a fan comes into the garage or something like that, it's like dream come true, isn't it? Just like sit in the car.
They just stand there in silence, don't they? But for us, like, the bike's downstairs in the workshop, and we see it every day. And then we have like friends come up and see it, and they're like, "Oh my god, what's that?" So it keeps you grounded when people come and have a look, doesn't it? But
you back down to
no, I'm super excited for him this year. Nobody works harder than him, so. It's been a long road to get here, hasn't it? And an expensive road. It's no secret, car racing's very expensive. So to get the recognition that he deserves is quite a big thing, really. I'm a bit biased when he's my twin, aren't I?
But it's right. If you can't be, exactly right. The full factory Frank Bird, that's it now.
That's my new nickname.
Yeah.
Full factory.
Oh, yes.
So where are you going to be racing this year? Where's it going to take you?
It's a bit difficult now. I'm basically managed by Mercedes now. Well, I do have a separate management company, but Mercedes kind of decide where they put me for the year. So I could, like I said, I've got all the Nürburgring stuff, which is hugely important to Mercedes. That's where they're massive, big events of the year. So we do the 24 hours of the Nordschleife. We do that. That's huge. I think I did it last year. There was 235,000 fans just at one race.
To kind of like, to put it into bike terms, for me, it's like their version of the TT.
Yes.
So it's almost like a
week-long event.
So it's huge. You do big parades, don't you? And I mean, I didn't go last year, but it was your first one last year, wasn't it? And to look at the pictures was mental. The grid, I mean, how they pass it through health and safety, I've got no idea. People were like, they were like packed in on the grid like sardines, but it's really cool, isn't it, to be fair? And yeah, you love it, don't you?
Yeah.
So
it's so different compared to the bike. So I think the bike fans are more diehard. You sort of recognise the same people at different tracks, don't you?
Yeah.
But the cars is a bit more like they'll do one championship here, they'll do a bit of F1 and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think when you like cars, you just like cars in general. So you don't care what you're watching, as long as it's cars. But I feel like especially BSB, they live for it. Like the fans live for it. You look at the crowds that were at Brands, and you know there was almost like a sea of red. Everybody had our jackets on, and they really are like die-hard super fans. So I would say there's definitely a big difference in that, isn't there, with cars.
I don't want to get any enemies now from the car fans.
Yeah, they'll all come at you.
I know very little about car racing. I watch a bit of F1 now and again. But after the opening round of the season, it'll be more again than now.
I agree as well.
Yeah.
Horrendous start to the season. But we wish you all the best for the season. That sounds good. How are you going to balance that between the team, or do you just basically leave it to Jordan and then come back in and steal the glory?
We're just going to try and figure it out, aren't we? Yeah. At the moment, there's no clashes, only with the testing from my side. So
excellent.
That's not too bad at the minute, but
I think these days, as long as you've got a laptop and a phone, I think you can do a lot of it, you know, from anywhere. So obviously his number one priority will always be your racing, won't it? It's got to be, because you can't go racing if you're not 100% into it, whatever you're doing. Yeah. So, you know, whenever he's got his time, he's super hands-on and does everything he can, and sits in my office doing my head again.
No. That's going to be quick.
I'm like, please just go and sit somewhere else, just 10 minutes, doing my head in. But yeah, you kind of feel in, you've done a lot more of the sort of the design in the trucks, the bikes, all that type of thing, and get that done, because that's not my forte. No. And I've done all the other bits and bobs. But I think, you know, our plan is to go back to 2 riders, and I think when we do get to the point where we can do that, that's where he comes in, you know, picking riders and selecting who he thinks is best, because he's got a bit more of an eye of it than I have, I think.
It's a bit more stressful with 2 riders, right?
Yeah.
Even more of a headache for us.
Yeah.
For me, I think you've done the right thing, whether it's a financial decision, whether it's a joint decision just for this year to put a toe in the water to go with 1 rider. It is scaling back, and it's literally stripping it back to the bones of a race team, starting again, and then let's see where we are in 2025 to run 2 bikes. And again, like you say, with bringing in the money to do it, and having to, as we were talking about earlier on, to bring in the sponsorship, to grow the partners that you have with the team from last year, that's something that's all new as well, isn't it? Because it's you have to fund the team somehow. And it is, in for want of a greater sense, the same as everybody. It was great before. Dad could do it, but now that avenue isn't there.
Yeah.
The dynamics changed completely, I would suggest.
Yes.
So how have you approached that with the partners and to actually carry it forward?
We've been really lucky. I mean, the next thing coming out will be obviously the bike launch, and we do have a new title sponsor for this year. They are somebody who's been with us for a number of years. To be honest, the bike really, when it does come out to look at, you'll see a lot of names that you recognise that have been with us for a long time, and I feel, you know, we both feel really lucky that they've put trust in us, because ultimately they are putting a lot of money in that they've worked really hard to earn. So for them to trust us before, you know, we sat in this meeting room a couple of weeks ago and I'm trying to push something that kind of hasn't happened yet. You know, they don't know how we're going to run the team. They don't know how it's going to happen, but you know, you can kind of tell them what you want, but whether it happens that way is a different story. So that's been quite difficult. But I think the biggest thing is having sort of the legacy of my dad, because my dad did a lot of things very, very well. I mean, you don't win 9 championships for you know, not knowing what you're doing. But equally, he did a lot of things, let's say, not poorly, but he could have done better. So I think we've got the good part that we've seen what my dad did well, we've seen what he did not so well, and you kind of meet somewhere in the middle. So we've scaled back massively. You know, the hospitality is a big change this year. It was, I think, last year it looked great. Practicality just was not there.
It's all for the show.
Yeah, and that was my dad. You know, my dad loved something that nobody else had, because, you know, when you're the most successful team, he's there, he's the most successful team owner. He's like, well, what can I do that nobody else is going to chase? Or so that was how he worked, and hospitality became a big headache. So we're actually going back to how my dad very first started with Klaus, you know, Claffy, he's doing it for us, isn't he? So that's going to be much easier. So big scale back, and yeah, I think it was about time. I think a lot of things had got away from us a little bit. It got a bit, not out of control, but there were a lot of unnecessary things. So scale back, one rider, and full focus. Like I said to MCN a couple of weeks ago, that, you know, you only need one rider to win a championship. You don't need two, because ultimately it's one person. Yeah. So, you know, we have every faith in Glenn, don't we? You know, missed out by half a point last year. There's no reason, you know, why he couldn't do it this year. His team's the same. The lads have stayed with him. He wanted the boys to stay. So for us, it's kind of 2024, hit the ground running, and it will obviously be different. It'll be a lot for us to learn.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it now. Like, it's getting close, and we're in the fun bit now. So we've got a bit of a new lease of life, haven't we, about it, and we're super excited.
Yeah. Wonderful. One thing I get the understanding that it's the guys that have served your dad almost the longest as well, isn't it? So I think John Mowat is his team manager.
He's 18 years deep.
Man. He's 80 years old.
Yeah. He probably feels
it. He's been a long time, and with John and Wazza, and they're all stalwart.
Hebber's been with us a long time,
Phil's the
hasn't he?
longest server. He's been
Phil
here since 2000. I think 2000. So he had his own racing career.
That's right, he did.
And then he was on board as I think he was a crew chief, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was to start with, yeah.
And then now he's technical director. So if we didn't have the people that, like Heber, Wazza, Johnny, Phil,
we wouldn't happen.
We wouldn't be able to do it.
This is the bit.
We can't mechanic.
No, exactly, but this is the backbone of the team that you've retained, which I think is the real power taking you forward into 2024. You're steering the ship.
Yeah.
But those boys are making the ship happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no job that's less or more important than the other. You know, you can't run without a tyre boy. You can't run without, you know, whoever can fix the TVs. You know, it's the tiniest things. It doesn't happen without them. You know, without the hospitality staff. You know, if we didn't have hospitality, you don't get sponsors. So it goes all the way down from top to bottom, and we're so lucky that, you know, from the very top to the very bottom, we've got a pretty good squad, haven't we? But
I wouldn't change them anyway.
We have a laugh as well. It's like mates going racing, and for me that's really important, because people give up their time away from their family and friends and weddings and all sorts of stuff. So we are like a bunch of mates, and we probably get arrested some of the conversations we have. But
well, that's a question I've got for later, actually.
Yeah, move on.
We're going to put it in that way. That's the beauty of it. Tell me about 2024 now, going forward. Glenn signed, it was announced on Wednesday, which is absolutely brilliant. There were murmurings for a while, and there was murmurings that Glenn was going to go to Moto America, and he's played the social media game incredibly well, as you two are both aware. Tell me now about 2024, your aims and your desires for 24.
It was just to kind of carry on where we were, finished last year, really.
Business as usual, isn't it?
Yeah, although it's just one rider, it's still obviously the same objectives, obviously to win. So, we've got the right people there, we've got the right riders, we've definitely got the right bike. So, just to crack on, really. And
it's kind of a case of don't fix it if it's not broken. You know, we were 1-2 in the championship last year. We clearly, you know, even with everything going on with my dad, clearly we did something right. So yeah, it literally the only thing I could say is business as usual. We go racing, whether it's 4 wheels or 2 wheels, we go to win championships. We don't put as much time and effort and money into it to not win. It's the same as everybody, whether you are at the back or the front. Everybody eventually wants to win. Otherwise, you shouldn't turn up. It is the way it is. So yeah, for both of us, I think winning's instilled in us. So, you know, it's ridiculous, really. You kind of look at these trophies, and that's a whole season of work in there, and you think, oh God, but that is what we do it for, isn't it? So
that's why we go racing.
Yeah, exactly. That's our objective anyway. It's, you know, to crack on and get to number 10, double digits.
Would that do you think equal the pride in the other 9?
Yeah,
It probably would, wouldn't it, to be fair? Well, each one's obviously got their own story to tell, hasn't it?
Last year was really meaningful. A huge thing for everybody. That was my dad's last championship. You know, he can't win anymore, so that will always be huge to our family. But I think to get one this year would be massive, because I know my dad would be prouder of us than he would be of himself. That's probably the biggest thing, and that's nice for us. Tummy's rumbling. It's I think that would be really nice. But like Frank says, every championship has a story, whether it's good or bad, or there's always some carnage somewhere and some happy memory, or I mean, maybe let's fast forward a few months and ask us that question again after Brands Hatch, and might be able to give you a different answer.
What about support manufacturer-wise? Are we supported with Ducati, everything carrying on as it was previously?
So they're fully supportive. They have cut the budget slightly, as a lot of people have.
I think that's across the board for everybody. That's not just for PBM.
Definitely.
I think that's racing in general.
Yeah, so that has been cut, but they're hugely behind us. They've been really supportive, and there's quite a few women that are working within Ducati UK, so they've been really good to me, and they seem really excited, which is nice. For us, it was a no-brainer. There was never an option or even a conversation to move, was there? It was never something that I would, or you, I don't think we would either consider, would we?
Yeah.
So they've been really good to us, and they're just as excited as we are. It's something fresh and new, and I think it's a nice story as well. And a good story attracts a lot of fans. So 100%. They've been great. They've been really good to us.
What's been the most rewarding part of the winter for both of you? Has there been any rewarding parts so far? Is that going to be April the 7th at Donington? April 6th, whichever one it is.
I think when we rolled the bike out the first time, just all the hard work coming together, bike goes out for the first time. Because sort of now you can make all these predictions and stuff like that, but just to get there, it's been a lot of hard work. It's achieved one of the goals achieved straight away.
I think everybody knows the feeling you get when you drive into a track. The start of a new year, and for us, it's the start of a new era as well. And I think the most rewarding part is yet to come, whether that be winning our first race or just simply pushing the bike out the garage the very first time. But I had a bit of a moment on Wednesday. We went to the Northwest launch. And I went up on stage with Glenn, and that was the first time I thought, oh gosh, this is actually happening, and this is like a new reality for us, because we've been in our dad's, not in his shadow, but we've been able to go and enjoy it. We haven't had to do the hard stuff, have we? And getting up on stage and answering the questions, I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm excited about this now. So but I think for me it'll be round one. I think when we pushed the bike out, probably for our very first race, I think we'll both feel that will be a huge moment, because then when you go racing, that really is happening, testing or whatever. It's great, but we go racing, and I think that'll be my moment anyway.
Wonderful. And you kind of the same feelings that
definitely.
way. When you're in your Mercedes and you're around the Nordschleife and everything's going on at testing, it's like, I'm fine, thanks.
Well, I said
I'm doing all right now, I'm all right.
I'm going to set my phone up on FaceTime so we can see the bike get pushed out for the very first time, and he doesn't miss it. So we couldn't believe that when you got it through.
It's typical, isn't it? First test as well. I would rather miss a test, to be honest.
Just hope it's raining or snowing like it normally does at Donington test.
It'd be very well.
It'd be probably more likely that way you are, without a doubt. What was I about to ask then? It's gone out of my head now because I brought you into the conversation. I can't remember what I was going to say. This happens, and it's not going to be a sidetrack. Jordan, you were going so well.
Sorry, below the belt.
It was going so well.
He's going to cut that bit out.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't cut anything. I don't cut anything out. It stays in. I don't mind at all. You can take the mickey as much as you want. I don't care. We've known each other long enough, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly, we can get away with it.
We can. When you were saying then about being up on stage at the Northwest, one thing that I think that happened, certainly Alton and Brands, was all of a sudden Eurosport were camped outside your garage. And there was a microphone. I mean, it kind of helps a little bit that it's shaky because you've got such a long relationship and a long history, and he understands everything in that respect. But then all of a sudden to be front of the garage rather than at the back of the garage, and media side of things, have you done any media training or anything like that for the coming season, or are you just going to wing it like I do?
Yeah, I think they'll pretty much wing it. I mean, it was the very first interview ever that I've done was Alton with Shaky, and he just said, "Don't worry," and good job it kind of wasn't live. The very first one, I thought this will ease me in a little bit, but yeah, it's really weird for me because that's never been my thing. I've always been able to go and enjoy racing, and you've done interviews all the time with your own racing, but for me, it's really new territory. So I think, it'll be a bit of learning this year. It's a tricky one. It comes with racing. It's the nature of it now. It's not the bit that anybody wants to do. I don't think whether you're a rider or anything, but you have to do it because without the fans and they're the people that are watching, racing doesn't happen either. So if that's something you can do for them, then it's a bit of a minor, really, isn't it? Get over it. We're going to get over it.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
I think so.
I think that's going to be the way forward. No, there's no. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
It's like a chat anyway, don't you?
Yeah. We don't mind.
Sorry, are you still here?
Yeah,
I know your chair's getting further and further back. How's it been for the pair of you with your relationship? I mean, you're close as close can be anyway, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But how has it been for you two taking this forward over the winter?
We've had our moments, haven't we?
But any brother and sister do, especially being twins.
Yeah.
We live together, work together, just spend 24/7 with each
Yeah,
other.
we do. But he is literally like my best mate. We do have such a nice time together, don't we? It's
sometimes.
Because we feel like it.
Not this morning.
Yeah.
Tell me what was this morning?
We did
Just
have a
bring your
little
chair in
round
a
the
little
car,
bit. That's all
actually,
right.
didn't we? What was that
Probably shouldn't
about?
speak about it.
There was something you said.
You can't say things like that and not expect me to ask about it.
Just a disagreement.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was
It was nothing to do with
driving.
pirate. What was it about? It wasn't about
It'd
us.
been something really stupid, and I
Just
sat
life
arms
generally.
folded out the window, and he said something that pissed me off. But then I got over it. I was fine after
Back
that.
to normal. It happens all 24/7.
Yeah. But it's this is the thing. Whether you're doing, everybody knows that whether you're in business or not, brothers, sisters, whoever, they have a bit of a bicker, and we're no exception, are we? But I think we get on pretty well, don't we? Really.
At the moment.
At the moment.
Wait till the racing starts.
Yeah.
Bit of strain on the relationship a bit.
I think where there's one, there's always the other. It's always been that way, hasn't it? And like probably with Tim and Tom, you just had them on, and they're probably the same. Where there's Tim, there's Tom, and that's the same with us two. So yeah, I think our dinner table conversations have probably changed a little bit. It's always about racing at the minute, so pretty standard in any household that's in it. But we seem to be getting on all right.
How much are you looking forward to the Northwest? BSB is the focus for most people,
Sure.
but Glenn has such a fantastic record at the Northwest 200, and this time it's you two that are driving that one now, and it is such a great event, and it gets a little bit of bad press for various reasons. But we just enjoy the racing.
Isn't
it is. It's exactly that.
Everybody gets a bit of bad press every
whether
now and
it's
again.
Stuart at BSB, whether it's Mervyn at the Northwest, they can't please everybody.
Yeah.
Neither should they.
I think when you're at the top of you're at the top of the pecking order, you open yourself to a bit of stick, and if you can't hack it, then you need to give the job to somebody else. But we went, didn't we? It was my first time over in Northern Ireland. You've been once before.
I've been a few times.
Yeah, 2019 you went for the Northwest, didn't you? And I went for the very first time. I loved it. I'm really excited for it now. For me, I didn't really know. I'd never been. I'd just watched on TV. So to go and see, and Ryan, Glenn's crew chief, he took me around for a lap, and now I've seen it and see the fans love it. I mean, this chat show, there must have been, what was that, like 450 people?
400 people, yeah.
It was a lot, and that's just for a quick chat with a few of the riders. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think you are too, aren't you?
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like BSB just moves over like an overseas race type thing, because it's a lot the same teams, a lot the same riders. So it's been really good. Mervyn White, what's his job title? He's like the director of events.
He's a
gaffer. He's gaffer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he's really good with us. To be fair, he's really good with Dad, and it's kind of just rolled on to us. So we can't wait for it. We were there for over a week. The boys love it. All the mechanics. They get a day off on the Friday, I think. So
a few pints of Guinness consumed.
Few pints of Guinness, yeah. So
I think that's really important, though. I think they use, because it's fairly early on in the season. I think it's 50 odd days away. So I I think the boys use the days off. They work on the bike in the day, but at night time, it's a bit of a bonding thing as well, because you're by the sea and touch wood, the weather will be really good, and you know that's.
I can tell you haven't been before.
Yeah, last year was a good year though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all right. Last year was all right.
Yeah, let's hope we get another year like that. But yeah, they seem to really enjoy it, and I think it's important for the team to have that time as well, because it's really high pressure. There's a lot at stake, and you know everybody, you know the lads are risking their lives there, so everyone's got to enjoy it and be there for the fun times as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I love the event.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I worked it in 22 with OMG, and then we went back last year with the podcast. And for me, it's really one on the calendar to look forward to, because the atmosphere is completely different. If you haven't been, I recommend it. You give it a try, because it's unique in that, and especially in Northern Ireland now, where the road racing, it's all falling away. There isn't the issues with insurance like there was with the Northwest last year. It was kind of touch and go whether it was going to happen or not. But the whole feeling of being there, and the whole event, as you say, 100,000 people, I think, around the triangle is amazing. And for a homegrown hero as well, you've got one of the most successful riders on your bike.
Yeah.
So I think it should be a pretty cool time.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of eyes on us. I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Glenn as well, and I think he thrives under that. He absolutely loves it.
Really?
He was in his element on Wednesday. I was looking at him thinking, you are lapping this up. I think he thinks he's Brad Pitt when he's there, to be honest. He's there. We went for breakfast yesterday morning, didn't we, actually? And he's walking into this cafe. Oh, I'm Glenn Irwin, I do this. And I was thinking, oh, God. But the woman who owned the breakfast place knew him, and she took us in and chatting away and, oh, come in whenever you want. And he is pretty much a celebrity around there. It's huge in there. So, yeah, it was pretty funny, really, because
doesn't need any encouragement, does it?
No, definitely not.
No.
But
You know,
everyone knows what he's like. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be really good fun, and you know, like you say, with the records that he can break this year, I think it'll be a real honour if we can provide the tools for him to do that as well. Because it's a nice thing, because it doesn't happen just the rider, and it doesn't happen with just the bike. So yeah, we are really looking forward to that.
It belongs to everybody, doesn't it? That's why it's a team.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 100% that. What are you looking forward to most for 2024?
Finishing? no, definitely not.
Brand's final round of the journey home.
Yeah, exactly. Or no, the party Sunday night. I feel like that's always one to look forward to.
Got a bit of a way to go before we get there.
A little bit, yeah.
Then, for me, I think just finally seeing everything come together, seeing all the hard work, I'm really looking forward to that. I think it'll be a real pinch me moment, and him doing his racing as well and getting to the point he's managed to get to. So it's a really big year for us, actually, isn't it? As you know, we're still only 24. I think people forget that. So
both of you.
Yeah. Just.
On the same day.
Yeah.
That's convenient.
Yeah, for me that would be the biggest thing. But no, what about you?
I think just probably the first race. I think you get there, we've got all the brand new team gear on, all the teams there, new branding, like you said, all the hard work coming together, being there for the first time, and hopefully we'll be right at the front. So just to be there again, all the atmosphere with all the fans, seeing all the old friends and stuff like that. So just being there, back in the circus again.
Yeah.
One thing that makes me really happy for you two and for the team is the whole of the continuity thing. Because I think it would have been infinitely more difficult had you had to change manufacturer, had the staff gone, do you know what?
I'm not bothered.
I'm done now. You know, we had a great time, and do you know what? I want to see more of the family.
Yeah.
And then having to recruit more staff, you've retained the rider as well, which is great. So a lot of the continuity must, for me, without speaking out, it must have taken quite a bit of stress out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, who would you say are your main rivals? And for me, the two biggest would be Kyle and the OMG boys, wouldn't they? Kyle and Ryan, because they've got continuity, they've got the team, they've got the bike, and I think that is so important in racing, because you know your crew, and my dad always said happy is fast. And if you were happy last year and you've got the same crew this year, well, you're going to probably be pretty happy again. So yeah, that's been a massive thing, and I think it takes years to accumulate sort of look through your telephone book. That takes a long time to get, and and putting all of us together, it's been a big thing. So continuity, it doesn't happen without it. For me, it wouldn't have happened if the boys hadn't been behind us. It would have been impossible, I think. So we're very grateful for them. Yeah. Just don't let them hear that.
I'll mute that.
Yeah,
I'll mute that. We don't want to give them too much of it, too many props too soon, do we? That's the thing. Over the years of all the successes that PBM had, who was your favourite rider?
Oh gosh.
We had this conversation yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, they'll all be listening, won't they? Been that many, hasn't there? There's been riders. We've done so many different championships.
Don't care. Who's your favourite rider?
Yeah, straight answer, isn't it?
Just play it a little bit.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're doing.
I don't know.
You said.
I think Brock Parks is one of my favourites. We had him in World Superbikes, MotoGP. I think there was just something about him. Aussies are just cool, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
And he was not bad on a bike as well, to be fair. He was just super nice, wasn't he? Super friendly. We knew him for a long time, even before he rode for us. So, I think he's one of my favourites. I always like his helmet designs as well. So that's one of the things.
I think it's easy to say, like, whoever's your most successful is your favourite. You know, whoever brought, Shakey's obviously up there, he brought a lot of success to the team. But for me, one of my favourites would be Stuart Easton, Rat Boy. He's almost part of our family for a long time. He's well up there for me. But then my dad managed to pull off having Haga do a couple of rounds for us. That was really cool. Yeah. That's up there. Everybody knows Haga. He was a good one to have. But Scott Redding was really up there for me. He came in. He did what he said he was going to do. He said, "I'm going to do a year. I'm going to win it, and I'm going to leave." And he did that. And I like somebody who does what they say they're going to do. So Scott would probably be my favourite, I would say.
Yeah, it was entertaining that year.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
In what way, Frank?
The end of season party was great.
How many was there? One at the track, wasn't there? Then there was a Monster Energy one they had. We had a team one.
Yeah.
It was just
the team one was really cool.
Carnage.
But I remember my dad had been out and it was the most horrendous shirt I've ever seen. It was like, it was some awful material, but it was cow and leopard print. It was hideous, and it cost him something ridiculous, like £2,000. It was a joke, but that was my dad. And Scott got absolutely hammered. Got my dad up on the stage, and he went to rip the buttons off. And my dad was going, no, like, this has cost me a fortune. Do not do that. So he didn't in the end, but. Yeah, the party was good. We had lovely Laura, the saxophone player from Ibiza. She came over and.
Yeah, we had a good time.
That was
what we can remember.
Yeah, he was absolutely hammered. Got to about 3 a.m.
As a professional athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Winter, off season. But it got to about 3 a.m. He's going, I'm going out. I said, you are not going out. Dragged him back to the house and he stood in the corner of the kitchen. He was like, I'm really cross with you. I said, I wanted to go out. So
I can't remember that. That's not true, I don't think.
It didn't happen. So yeah, Scott would be one of my favourites for sure.
Yeah. One thing I'm a big fan of, we're going to talk about professional athletes and things like that. I find that a lot of the riders that we talk to, they don't want to bring stories like that out because sponsors, this, that, and the other. And I know you're a Mercedes AMG young driver and full factory Frank, but you've got to have character. You've got to have fun. And I think that's vital in any racing, whether it's 4 wheels or 2 wheels. And your dad was so good at that.
Yeah.
And the team have always been so good at that. And Scott's so good at that.
Yeah.
And Glenn's so good at that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you walk around the BSB paddock and ours is only the hospitality that sort of after 7:30 when everyone's had their tea that people are still in there. For us, it's been really important that the team do have a laugh together. Like I said earlier, they spend so much time away from home. We've got to enjoy it. And I've always said, I said to Glenn, you do have to let your hair down because I think the times where you do train and you are flat out and you are eating good, you enjoy the times that you can let your hair down because it's not all work. You do have to play as well. I mean, I'd take the mickeys and getting hammered that night, but I couldn't tell you the last time he got drunk, to be fair. He's a bit of a lightweight as well, so he tends to stay away from it.
4-pint wonder.
Or less than.
Pushing it.
Is that pushing
I
it
think
for?
he's a 1 pint
I get to 4 and that's me.
Yeah, tapping out.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I'm awful.
No, it's
See you at Bramson.
Yeah.
What, as we're leaving at 7:30 on the Sunday night to drive home?
No hangovers.
Yeah.
We didn't this year. We
It's
were
all
back home in our own bed by midnight.
That's boring, isn't it?
I know. That's me. We did it the year before, and I don't know. I'm too old for that shit. Especially when there's like a herd of junior supersport riders coming in.
They're a nuisance.
Yeah.
They're an absolute pest. They're an absolute pest, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't care who's
Owen,
watching.
no,
You're a
Owen
pest.
Jnr, he was the worst one. We love Owen, don't
Really?
we? Yeah.
Why am I
really
not
funny.
surprised?
We love him,
Jenna,
but my
Jacob
God.
Hatch, they're all like Kieran Kent. I'll name you all. I'll tell you who you are.
Name and shame. Yeah, I mean, but
I'm too old for that.
like Owen, bless him, he'd worked so hard and he did what he wanted to do. He got his championship and he enjoyed it. And they've got to. I think it's so important because it's so high pressure. You've got to have a bit of a blowout. And I think anybody who says they don't is a liar.
I agree.
For sure.
I agree. They've got to do something. And speaking, I have a lot of time for Owen. I think he's one of the growing characters in the sport, and someone who has a character.
Yeah.
Because I work with, as well, we go back over 10 years, and I worked with Jordan Weaving, and he was on the podium regularly, and I was like, you have 30 seconds to get your character across. When you're talking to Matt, it was just Matt, I think, at the time. When you're talking to Matt Roberts, and he's asking you how the race went, you tell him how the race went, you tell him how much you enjoyed it, you animated. Please don't waste 15 seconds thanking your sponsors.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they're paying for.
No, it isn't.
That's massaging their ego. Stop it. They're paying for that. We can see it.
It's
Sell
there.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think, like I said, when my dad signed Tommy, my dad purely signed Tommy because of what he told him. He came across, because Tommy lived miles away, he came up for miles to come and see my dad, and he said, I could win a race for you and I could win a championship for you. Right then. Let's do it. And you've got to, there's no bullshit about it. You say who you are, you say what you do, you have a laugh, you build a relationship, and you have some good success together. And yeah, I think Glenn can definitely do that for us. It's, I think we're quite fortunate that Frank's also an athlete. So him and Glenn were chatting away about some recovery boots they're getting and all these muscle guns and what do you train and all of this, and I don't think many team bosses and riders have that in common. No. I think so that's something that will play in our favour, I think, but then equally when all is said and done we can all go out and have a bit of a blowout together.
Has he sold you a base layer yet?
Oh God. Bloody
Wait till you get him on tomorrow.
You ain't.
He'll have a cap on.
Yeah,
zero fit.
Underneath.
It's like Superman, isn't it? It's going to be there in front of him.
Yeah, it will be. He's I mean, we were quite surprised. They are really good, aren't they? Really good. He isn't lying, but my God, he even asked he is. He even asked his missus to marry him, and he was wearing a zero fit hat. That's how far it's gone. So,
that's Glenn.
Yeah, it is. So do what you got to do.
I'm sitting down with Glenn tomorrow at Ducati Preston on their open day. What's the one thing I should ask him?
Ooh. Who's your favourite boss?
That's on the list.
Yeah, who's your favourite boss? I pay his wages, so hopefully me.
Well, I probably can't say him, will I?
No, I don't know what you could ask him, to be honest. I do think who's your favourite boss is a good one.
Okay.
Definitely ask him that.
Because this will go out on Monday. It'll be Monday as the listeners and the viewers are watching and listening. It didn't make any sense at all, did it?
I knew what you meant.
You knew what I meant. That's all that matters. So this will go out on Monday, and then Glenn's show will go out on Wednesday. So I've got some busy editing this weekend.
Yeah, ask him how many sponsors he's got on his helmet this year. That's always a good one.
Yeah, it's like a notice board, isn't it?
It's like
the pinboard.
See what we're going to do? We're going to have a big basket with a bit of elastic on the side. I'm going to put a load of stickers in. I've got a catapult. I'm just going to
stick them.
Yeah. Just hit with a scattergun, isn't it?
We have seen his helmet.
Fair play to him, but
you just got to do what you got to do, haven't you?
Which brings us on to this little one here.
This is the one without the sponsors on.
So but with your dad's records on it and the team's records.
Every race, every place we've won a race.
All the special achievements and stuff.
Yeah. That was super thoughtful because as we all know, losing my dad happened really, really quickly. And to get that pulled off in such a short space of time was, I mean, it was really special for us actually. And he gave that to us on Wednesday, didn't he? And yeah, it was a really nice gesture of him anyway, because my dad had a bit of a thing actually in every rider contract. One of the clauses was that at the end of the year he got a full sort of set of leathers, helmet, boots, and so for someone to make a helmet like that'll have meant a lot to my dad. So we appreciate it a lot, don't we? So that's one we've got a big wall in my dad's house that's full. It's like floor to ceiling, every helmet you could ever imagine. So that'll be going in pride of place anyway when we get back, won't it?
Wonderful, wonderful. We had I always put this out to our patrons that we're having a chat with the guests coming up, so give them a chance to ask questions. We've got a handful of patrons. We're still growing, as we spoke about before we came on air. We're growing from ground zero. Yeah, the same principle, isn't it? Yeah, exactly the same principle. And one of our great supporters, Craig Lowe, he was asking, that obviously there have been some really difficult hurdles over the winter. What was the most difficult hurdle you faced putting all this together?
There's too many.
I think the biggest one is everybody's thing is finances.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because without the finances you can't make any promises to anybody. But to be able to run a race team, you've got to have money. It is how it is. But for me, it was probably getting everything moved, really. There's a lot of stuff to go through, but also for us, the stuff we were going through was our dads, and our dad had passed away, and that was painful for us. There was all sorts of things, like we uncovered my dad's motocross kit. He kept every single bit, and we didn't even know it was there, did we? And so there was a few things we stumbled across, but then there's some funny things we stumbled across, and fan mail from women, and they'd kissed letters and sent them to him from all sorts of countries. And then there was a box that I uncovered. It'd absolutely kill me. God knows who it was, but we found some Viagra that went out of date in 1997, and there was all sorts. There was literally all sorts. So something that was really painful and really not nice to go through. Actually, we had such a laugh, because there was some
old pictures,
and old team clothing and shoes that were just, oh my God, you wouldn't be seeing deader than the horrendous. So we did end up having a giggle, but yeah, it's been really difficult, the whole thing. But ultimately it goes down to, we're two kids that have lost our dad, and that's the biggest thing. So trying to do all of that stuff whilst, because we have to talk about him every day, and that isn't easy when you've lost a parent. So there's been a lot of things, really, hasn't there? It's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears, and sleepless nights, and it's been a lot. It's definitely been a lot.
There's one overriding memory I have of Dad was at Mallory Park years and years and years ago, and he had these Nike Shocks, the bright red
still in our hands.
Nike Shocks trainers, and that must have been early 2000. That was back with Rat Boy and
had his name on the back.
And
of
Steve,
Nike ID special.
Yeah, it was, and that was when Nike ID first came out, and Dad thought he was the absolute dog dollars, and then they were, but they're still.
Weird how things stick in your mind, but I remember seeing them wow,
what are they? But they were trick. They were really trick.
They were.
But now they look so old-fashioned. You put them on, didn't you, a couple of weeks ago, and they're hideous. They're like that thick, and the back looks like he's wearing a pair of heels.
Like fancy dress shoes.
Yeah, they are.
You could have a proper fancy dress party with your dad's motocross kit and things like that, with a tribute night and the Shocks.
Yeah, we did,
a proper tribute night.
Exactly.
So if anybody wants to be a patron, it's in the description below, both on the audio and on the video. So if you sign up, it'd be great. You can ask the guest questions, and you get early release of the show as well. Little plug there for
got to.
Do these things. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. First time guests on the show always get the same question. What's your best hire car story? You can have time to think if yours is different.
Yeah.
In fact, no, let's go to you first. We've been to Jordan first a couple of times. Let's go. I'll put you on the spot, Frank.
Which one?
Exactly,
There's
which one?
Come on, Mr. Athlete, Mercedes AMG,
Driving
full factory Frank.
Oh yeah, that is a good hire car
That's
story,
the best
actually.
one for you.
It wasn't at a race event. It was a hire car story.
Doesn't matter.
So we used to go on big family holidays to Barbados, didn't we? Frank Rathel used to come with us. Norman Burgess used to from Silk Leans, his son called Norman as well. So anyway, we were there in Barbados, and obviously they're known for drinking rum out there, aren't they? So my dad and Frank Sr., they got heavy on the rum one afternoon with one of their friends over there. They couldn't walk, they couldn't talk, anything like that. So they obviously had to get back at some point. And how old was I?
I reckon we were about 8 or 10. We weren't very old. We weren't old at all.
I ended up driving the high car back. I was 8 years old in Barbados.
All the way back from my friend's house.
Yeah, in a country I've never been to. They drive on the wrong side of the road, all this kind of stuff. I was 8 years old driving a high car.
The best part of it, there's this bar my dad used to love going to called Surfside.
Yeah.
But to get to it, you had to drive past a police station. Like the alleyway was probably no wider than this room, is it? So you drive in, you go and get absolutely battered, get in your car, you drive past the police station, and off you go. So that was probably, that'd be your one, definitely.
And I told my grandma the next day at breakfast, she just lit my dad up in front of everyone. Didn't go down so well.
No, she was absolutely, my grandma was the boss as well. She was the only person that could control my dad. He was shit scared of her. So when we came back the next day and told her, she was
I couldn't wait to tell you.
Yeah, we were like waiting at the dinner table already. No, mine would be, I can't, I was with Ben Godfrey before he passed away, and we were testing in, must be 2019, and as races are with their high cars, we'd like all pulled up, and there were 4 or 5 of us, and Jordan Weaving was actually his teammate at the time, and we stopped at some traffic lights. Ben wasn't watching what we were doing out the window, and he smashed straight in the back of them, but we didn't realise, we thought it was a speed bump, but the bumper had actually come off. So we got out the car at the hotel and no bumper, and this thing was an absolute shed. So that's probably my best one. Got back and kind of retrace our steps, try and find it, but someone had nicked it. So
No way.
It had gone,
So it had gone anyway?
Yeah, it had completely gone. So then we had to go back to the airport and kind of try and blag it a little bit, and yeah, that's probably my best one.
Brilliant. Throw them the keys. There you go, thank you, bye. This is the address, it's not mine. Thank you both. Really appreciate your time. And thank you for being so open, and thank you for inviting us up. You've been superb over the winter. It's been great to keep in touch and do it when the time's right. So thank you for your patience and
thank you for yours as well.
That's what we do. It's no problem. I wish you all the very best for the season.
You.
Can we do this halfway through the season? Sit down and see where we are.
Yeah.
If we can get you both together at a race meeting halfway through, let's do a little mini series. We're doing pre-season now. Let's do something in the summer, and then we'll wrap it up maybe November time, come back and have a cup of tea.
Sounds good to me, definitely.
Do a bit of
we could see the progress.
Yeah, exactly. It's something then to look back on, isn't it? It's catalogues of progress. Best of luck for you for 2024 with the Mercedes AMG.
Cheers.
That's going to be fantastic to keep an eye on. And we wish PBM Motorsport, PBM Racing, as it is now, PBM Racing Team, all the very best for 2024. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Cheers.